What would happen if all the asteroids hit at the same time? Welcome back to Sleepy Tales by John. 66 million years ago, an uninvited guest collided with the Earth. That single impact swept away the largest and proudest creatures ever to walk this planet. Yes, that was the moment the dinosaurs vanished from the face of the Earth. If a meteorite of that size were to visit us today, humanity, with all its cities, memories, and dreams, would probably find itself standing very close to the edge of extinction. But tonight, under the gentle moonlight, we are not going to run away from that possibility. Instead, we'll quietly explore together the 5 most dangerous asteroids ever to hit the Earth. The ones that have already rewritten history, and the ones that might, one day, touch us again. A small forecast before we begin. This time, Earth will not win. But along this calm journey, you'll understand why that fragility makes our planet so precious. Let your mind loosen, let your thoughts grow softer, and we'll begin. We'll start with the smallest meteorite on our list, the Barringer asteroid, and then we'll slowly build up to an asteroid much larger than even the Chicxulub object that wiped out the dinosaurs. But before we go deeper into that story, there is something you need to know about space rocks. They are not rare events. They fall from space and collide with the Earth all the time. Most meteorites end their stories in the same quiet way, silently, softly, without leaving any mark at all on the ground. And even though they come from distant regions of the sky, they bow before the protective cloak of Earth's atmosphere. A layer as fragile as silk, yet far stronger than it first appears. Up there, terrible speed becomes light, temperatures hot enough to melt steel, turn them into tiny grains of golden dust. But sometimes, in that endless sea of stars, there are more stubborn wanderers, quieter, larger, heavier, carrying within them the weight of billions of years of formation. The ones that refuse to dissolve in the arms of the atmosphere. The ones that plunge down like arrows, tearing through the air, carrying the breath of ancient rock and the raw violence of deep space. You can imagine that moment, the night sky suddenly blazing, not with moonlight or city lights, but with a falling star that has traveled too far to ever go back. That light glides silently through the clouds, like a silver brush stroke painted across dark water. There is no sound at first, only a tension so deep that people might hear their own hearts beating in their chests. And it is in exactly that silent moment that the fate of Earth is being pulled tight. Because each beam of light dropping toward us is not just a speck of dust. It is a story from the very edge of space. A visitor that may be as small as a pebble or as large as a mountain. A message sent by the universe to the Earth. Sometimes a gentle greeting, sometimes a warning written in fire. The atmospheric cloak still stretches out wide, still burns away most of those falling stone dreams, still protects the blue planet with the hot breath of friction and light. But even within that protection, there are limits, and more than once, some have slipped through. Those are the ones that leave scars so deep, even time itself must bow. In this astronomical dream, where every motion grows softer and every image drifts slowly like water, we are drawing closer to the moment when one of those visitors touches the Earth. A single touch, just strong enough to change the entire sky. And in some way, the history of our world always begins with a quiet streak of light falling down like that. Let your imagination carry you now to the deserts of Arizona, where dry winds blow across red ridges that have lain still for thousands of years. A place where, 50,000 years ago, the sky blazed with an uninvited guest, a small iron meteorite, only the size of a building, yet carrying the energy of an entire chapter of the universe's story. You can close your eyes, and in that silence, you might hear the faint echo of an explosion that has already dissolved into time. A roar, pressed into every grain of sand, resonating like a deep drum beat, rising from the bottom of the sky. It didn't last long, just a brief moment of burning brightness, and then everything returned to silence. But that silence was not empty. It was the silence of rock and soil that had just gone through a touch powerful enough to change their very shape. If Barringer were to fall in the modern age, its light might rival an entire city suddenly flaring into brilliance. The shockwave would be strong enough to knock down houses, shatter windows, and tap on human chests like an invisible hand. But 50,000 years ago, when there were no skyscrapers, no streetlights, no engines humming into the night, that impact was more like a slow, sorrowful knock on the door of Earth from the wider universe. That iron mass struck the ground, heating the sky above it to a glowing red, then shattered into countless fragments, falling like fading sparks. And when the dust finally settled, it left behind a giant hollow, deep, round, perfectly shaped like the eye of some ancient creature gazing up at the heavens, wondering what had just occurred. In the vast silence of the desert, where time never hurries, that crater became a wound, but also a recording of history. It doesn't shout or tell its story in words. It simply lies there, quiet among sun and wind, like an old monk meditating in the open, carrying within it the tale of an age no human being ever saw. And the strangest thing is this: Barringer, though small compared with what is still to come, is still enough to remind us that just one moment, one stray stone from the cosmos, can change the climate, reroute ecosystems, or begin winters, so long they turn into legend. When we stand before Barringer, whether with real feet or only in imagination, we feel as if we are standing in front of an echo from the past. A past in which Earth was tested, yet survived. A world that staggered, then stood again, continuing to spin through darkness and light. And when the desert's breath finally calms, we know this much: Barringer is only the opening note of a much longer symphony. A small chapter in the book the universe is writing with stone, fire, and time. From there, our journey moves on into another tremor, stronger, closer, like the sound of a distant drum slowly approaching through the night. All right then, imagine you're standing in a small town near the desert, where wooden houses have grown used to dry winds and the quiet stillness of the afternoon. Far away, the horizon suddenly glows with a tired red light, as if the land itself were exhaling heat stored up from thousands of years of sleep. Then, from the point of impact, a column of gray-white smoke rises, gentle as a breath, but carrying the weight of an entire landscape reshaping itself. You watch it drifting, slow, as if it has all the time in the world to climb. But just a minute later, before your mind can fully form a thought, a strange sound arrives. It doesn't quite resemble a normal explosion. It feels more like someone has struck the sky itself. A giant drumbeat rolling down, spreading across rooftops, slipping through doorways, slipping into every breath. The gust of air arrives first. Strong, thick, almost with a shape of its own. It rams into your chest, making you step back a little, as if the entire sky had just reached out and touched you. Only then does the sound fully arrive. A slow, drawn-out boom, like the ground itself is turning over beneath your feet. In that moment, the quiet little town becomes the wooden gong of the universe, and the small human beings living there turn into reluctant listeners of a fierce piece of music that nature plays only once every few thousand years. Window frames quiver like leaves in a strong wind. Glasses on tables begin to ring softly, like a choir of crystal bells being awakened. A bird perched on a power line startles and bursts into flight. And in the eyes of the people watching, though it lasts only a few seconds, there is a mix of wonder and awe. Nature does not need to raise its voice to remind us that we are only temporary guests. Then the silence returns, but not the same silence as the old afternoon. This is the kind of silence that makes people stand a little longer, breathe a little slower, and feel deep in their bones that something immense has just passed through their world. And so, like a thin thread stitching the pages of a story together, we realize that Behringer is only the first chapter of these knocks on the door of the night. The universe still has many visitors waiting to step into the story, each bringing a question, a weight, a shard of memory carved from stone and fire. Before we can finish that thought, the shadow of another rock, named Wire 4, quietly glides into the next chapter, like a comma in a long, unfinished symphony. Imagine a small stone, wandering without any real purpose, yet somehow carrying the nervous anticipation of all humanity. In 2024, YR4 was discovered, just a tiny dot on a radar screen. And still, it made the hearts of those watching skip a beat. It moved without haste, drifting into its orbit, like a slow, wandering thought, escaping from someone's mind, then finding its way closer to Earth. There is something about Wire 4 that makes people both uneasy and mesmerized. Because real threats do not always wear giant shapes. Sometimes they appear as a vague shadow, gently sliding across the sky. Now picture it visiting the sky above Bogota, not falling to the ground, not touching anyone, only exploding high up where human eyes can still see it. When YR4 breaks apart in the atmosphere, the sky will light up like a false dawn, white, then yellow, then red, one after another, like layers of emotion that appear too quickly to be named. The city beneath, every street, every rooftop, every window, will be washed in that fiery glow. For a brief moment, Bogota will turn into a giant mirror, reflecting the light of a faraway era, when stones still carried the breath of comets and frozen gas. Then, after the light, comes the shaking. A pressure wave sweeps over the rooftops like an invisible hand, gently stroking the ground. Not strong enough to destroy everything, but strong enough to make people feel as small as autumn leaves, waiting for the wind to touch them. And when the trembling stops, only a sky smudged with haze remains. YR4 has vanished, becoming memory. But that memory carries a clear reminder of how fragile this planet is. That sometimes, just one small stone, one distant spark of light, is enough to make the whole world fall silent for a few minutes. Among the countless moments when Earth quietly spins beneath the darkness of space, there are times when humanity decides not to simply stand still and watch the wandering stones draw near. And from that will, projects like DART are born. Not loud, not defiant toward the cosmos, but more like a gentle tap, a modest little push on the wheel of fate that is 1,000,000 times larger than we are. If you imagine it very slowly, very softly, you'll see a tiny spacecraft, no bigger than a living room, crashing into an asteroid thousands of times larger than itself. There is no deafening explosion, no blazing fire tearing open the atmosphere, just a gentle impact, barely more than a touch, enough to nudge the path of a rock weighing millions of tons by just a few millimeters per second. A change so small it seems almost meaningless. But sometimes, the universe is exactly a story made of such tiny changes. If it's done early enough, that very small deviation can grow into a safe distance of thousands of kilometers by the time that asteroid flies past Earth many years later. Just one gentle tap at the right moment, and the entire history of the world could unfold differently. If it's done too late, nothing will be in time anymore. And that is the quiet, yet sharp truth that science keeps whispering. Hope only exists when we begin, long before fear arrives. But in tonight's imagined journey, this trip where we deliberately open the door to every dark possibility, we will set the DART spacecraft down and let it sleep, like a beautiful story that we choose not to use. There will be no soft touch on fate, no saving hand from humanity. Because to truly understand how fragile the Earth is, sometimes we have to let the universe do exactly what it wants to do. Imagine another moment, just as peaceful, just as slow. People standing under the sky, watching the moving points of light, trying to calculate, trying to change their paths, and then slowly realizing how small their abilities are compared to the vast flow of space. And right inside that smallness, we begin to see a different kind of beauty. The beauty of trying, even when we know we cannot control everything. Hope, when placed next to the vastness of the cosmos, becomes fragile, like a thin wisp of smoke. But it still has its own quiet value. It reminds us that humans are not only victims of fate, but sometimes the ones who rewrite a tiny part of astronomical history. In tonight's story, we gently set that hope down beside us, like placing a candle on the doorstep and letting its light rest for a while. Because the road ahead will no longer have room for gentle pauses. Far away, beyond the thin veil of smoke left behind after YR4, a long, still shape is approaching. Like a stray fragment of the universe's memory finding its way back home. A visitor from where sunlight has never truly reached, gliding across space with a strange and mysterious beauty. Oumuamua appears not like an asteroid, but like a lost piece of memory from the earliest dawn of the universe. Long, slender, silent, it glides through the void like a thin blade slicing across the sky without making a sound. It looks like an ancient stone letter, blown by the wind of time from some distant star system, passing through our solar system as an unannounced guest. No one knows what story it carries. No one knows how many millions of years it has traveled. We only know that it does not belong here, and that it probably will not stay here for long. But in our imagined journey tonight, we allow ourselves to place a gentle yet frightening possibility on the table. What would happen if Oumuamua fell to Earth? And imagine it heading straight for the Amazon, the largest forest on the planet, where trees stretch out like a boundless green ocean, where life echoes in every drop of dew and every birdsong at dawn, a world that breathes slowly, deeply, and has done so for a very, very long time. When Oumuamua pierces the atmosphere, it does not burn bright like ordinary meteorites. Its ancient material from beyond our star system makes it blaze in a strange color, not red, not orange, but a violet glow, like shredded aurora. For a few seconds, the Amazon night sky lights up as if someone is pulling back the curtain of darkness to reveal a gigantic hidden lamp. A flash of light, a tremor, a searing breath sweeping across the ground. No screams, no time to run. Only silence torn apart and returned as a forest of fire. The entire Amazon flares up like a burning lantern in the deep night. Flames roar so high they seem to reach for the very place where Oumuamua just fell. Ash surges into the sky in massive clouds, then drifts back down like black snow, settling on treetops, on river surfaces, on the gentle air that once defined this land. A forest that has lived for millions of years becomes a half-burned painting in just a few minutes. A fresh wound on the skin of the earth, deep, wide, and one that will smolder for centuries. Not because of Oumuamua's size, but because of its very mystery. Its material, its energy, the way it interacts with Earth's atmosphere. All of it lies beyond what humans truly understand. It falls not just as a meteorite, but as a reminder of all the things the universe still keeps hidden. But the strangest part is, after the blast, after the forest fire, after the ashes, no one can find a single piece of Oumuamua. It seems to have vanished completely, leaving Earth with a question that has no answer. Was it truly just rock, or something else entirely? And as the layers of ash are still drifting down like tired grains of time, we know the story isn't over. Farther back in Earth's own history, there were visitors that once came and left wounds deeper than anything we can easily imagine. One such visitor carried the final breath of an entire age and is now waiting for us in the next part of our journey. Chicxulub, the last breath of the giants. When you close your eyes for a moment, Let yourself slip through the thick layers of time like passing through mist. In just a single breath, you'll find yourself standing at the doorway of the Cretaceous period. A world of blue skies, green forests, blue oceans, where enormous creatures walk with the calm certainty that this world was made just for them. Chicxulub was not a rock falling from the sky. It was an entire mountain in freefall. A gigantic mass of stone more than 10 kilometers across, plunging toward Earth at a speed so great there was no time for any warning. It did not travel gently like Oumuamua, nor did it carry the loneliness of wandering meteorites. Chicxulub was the heaviest full stop the universe ever placed on the page of life. Imagine you're standing in the ancient land of Yucatan. There is no unusual sound, no sign of anything coming, only a blazing sun overhead and green forests stretching all the way to the horizon. Then, the atmosphere around you begins to tighten, like a curtain being pulled taut. The light changes, becoming sharp, almost metallic, and in that exact moment, the sky opens as if something above you has cracked. The sky opens as if something above you has cracked. A colossal pillar of fire tears through the air, brighter than the sun, faster than any thought, more violent than any word. The first explosion doesn't just shatter the ground, it shakes the spine of the entire planet. Its power is equal to millions of nuclear bombs detonating at the same time. A sheet of white light sweeps across Earth's surface, then instantly turns into a thick, boiling sea of fire, flowing over forests, over mountains, and even over the oceans themselves. Trees are extinguished, then reignite. Artificial rivers of lava form from soil and rock melted into liquid. The ground trembles relentlessly, as if the earth is trying to swallow its own cry of pain. And that is only the first blow. Shockwaves from the impact race outward for thousands of kilometers, powerful enough to flatten any structure, any valley, any city humanity might one day build. The Caribbean Sea rises up like a beast being struck, then crashes back down, forming tsunamis hundreds of meters high. Those walls of water hurl themselves toward the land, erasing everything in their path with one enormous sweep of nature's hand. Up in the sky, hot stones, ash, and dust were hurled into the atmosphere, forming a blanket so thick that sunlight could no longer break through. Day turned into night. Night thickened into a dense, almost tangible darkness. Everywhere became a quieter version of the apocalypse. And in that long silence of darkness, an era died. The gigantic creatures that once ruled Earth for millions of years vanished, not because of an enemy, not because of disease, but because of a night longer than any other night in history. Chicxulub didn't just kill life. It reshaped the entire planet, its climate, its oceans, its sky, and the path of evolution itself. Yet, as with every brutal chapter of nature, inside that ending, a different seed of life was quietly planted. Had Chicxulub never fallen, perhaps we, those who sit here now, listening to this story, might never have had the chance to exist. In that darkness, while the sky was still heavy with ash, Earth drew a breath again. A weak breath, but still a breath. And from beneath the ash, from tiny caves, from silent corners of the world, life began to step out once more, slow and patient. We are not simply remembering a catastrophe. We are witnessing the moment this planet was rewritten. And as the ash is still falling in our imagination, we know there are deeper wounds ahead, harder strikes, ones carved into earth long before creatures ever learned to roar or walk. Among them is a visitor from an age so ancient that its power makes Chicxulub seem only like a soft punctuation mark. A visitor named S2, the one who once touched the primordial ocean, where water and fire met. Imagine you're standing in a vast open field. You look up, searching for the familiar brightness of noon. But the sky is no longer blue. Instead, a layer of ash, thin as ink but dense as smoke, stretches across the entire dome of the world. The The sun is still there, still burning, still sending out its light. But the ash swallows almost every ray before it reaches the ground. The entire planet sinks into a dimness like a never-ending sunset. Day becomes night, and night becomes something deeper, heavier, almost as if it has its own weight and is slowly lowering itself over every surface. Earth doesn't just grow dark, it loses the very idea of light. In this twilight, trees begin to fade. Leaves that once reached for sunlight like small open hands now only tremble under the cold wind. They cannot photosynthesize, cannot feed their roots, cannot hold on to life for much longer. Forests dull, grasslands shrink, ancient groves stand motionless, without birdsong, without insects, everything fragile like old paper. The food chain collapses from the bottom. Sun-dependent life disappears first, then the herbivores, then the predators. A haunting stillness settles everywhere, so still you feel as if the entire earth is holding its breath, not out of fear, but out of endurance. Frost creeps down from the poles, slowly but relentlessly. Oceans, covered in darkness, grow colder by the hour. Their surfaces no longer glimmer. They become a gray mirror, reflecting a colorless sky. And so, a long winter begins. A winter with no promise of an ending. Not because time has shifted, but because sunlight is still imprisoned behind a veil of ash tens of kilometers thick. You can imagine that feeling, a familiar world becoming a muted copy of itself, an Earth entering an unintentional hibernation, a planet pulling a heavy blanket over itself to survive the wound just delivered. Humanity, small but stubborn, looks up and sees nothing but a thick, cold void. City lights cannot push back the darkness. Fires cannot beat the cold. Every flame feels like a curled-up creature trembling before the silent vastness of the cosmos. This silence is not peace. It is a warning written in shadow, as if Earth were whispering, "I have been through this, and I survived." But the path after darkness has never been an easy one. Even the oceans seem to be waiting for something, a signal, a spark, a sliver of sunlight to slip through the ash, even the tiniest crack. Waves still move, but their sound feels farther away, heavier, more tired. No one knows how long the darkness will last. No one knows how the light will return. All that remains is waiting, a kind of waiting that is survival, but also meditation, a silence that forces us to look gently at the fragility of everything. The world grows so still it feels as if the planet is holding one long breath, patiently enduring. A slow breath, stretching itself into hope. But hidden inside that darkness, deep beneath the primordial ocean of time, lies another story. A collision stronger than Chicxulub, older than any human memory, reminding us that this world once stood at the edge of melting apart and still continued forward. In the thick darkness after Chicxulub, when every sound seems to dissolve into the hush of drifting ash, you can almost feel the planet holding itself together, as if it were trying to lull the surviving life with the slow heartbeat of stone and ice, making sure nothing collapses entirely. Night stretches on, cold as an invisible hand, brushing across treetops, seas, rooftops, still faintly glowing. And then, within that silence, a soft and deep thought begins to move through your mind. If this recent impact could exhaust Earth this much, then what happened in those ancient eras when the planet was young, soft as clay, with no forests, no blue oceans, no heartbeat of life? What happened before the dinosaurs, before stable sunlight graced the sky? What left marks in the deepest memories of the planet, etched into its most primitive stone? That question is as gentle as a breath, yet it opens a door, and behind that door is a faint image, one that modern science can only approach through imagination. One of the most terrifying impacts ever to occur, so enormous that everything we've witnessed tonight would seem like nothing more than a tiny ripple. Our journey continues, drifting backward into the far reaches of time, to an age when Earth had no name, no familiar shape, only a young sphere swirling in the chaotic dance of water and fire. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a primordial ocean. No sand, no trees, only a vast surface of water coated in a thin veil of mist, reflecting the faint glow of an infant sun. The air is thick, warm, carrying the scent of metal and minerals. Earth in that moment feels like a body learning how to breathe for the very first time. And then, from a shadowed corner of the universe, S2 appears. It is unlike any asteroid we have ever known. Its size alone is enough to make the imagination pause and take a breath. You may picture Chicxulub as a flying mountain crashing into Earth, but S2 is an entire range of mountains, a small continent, a fragment of a distant world torn from its home and hurled into space. As S2 draws nearer, the sky turns crimson, glowing like a curtain of fire. The sea below begins to heave, as if the ocean senses the fate falling toward it and tries to inhale deeply one last time before everything collapses. Then the impact happens. Not with a sound, not with a flash, but with a tremor powerful enough to reset the heartbeat of the planet. The entire ocean rises into a colossal tower of water, wide enough to cover a modern nation. Hot vapor surges upward into clouds, and the clouds melt into streams of molten rain, falling back onto the surface. In just a few minutes, nothing on the planet remains the same. Earth vibrates like a massive drum struck by the hand of the cosmos. The sea boils, the land melts, the air turns into fire, the sky disappears entirely. If such a collision happened today, when Earth is full of life, full of forests, cities, and stories still being told, everything would end not in chaos, but in a strange, absolute quiet. No chance to run, no shelter to hide in, no moment to think of tomorrow. The force would erase every shape, every color, every sound on the planet's surface. Life would be pushed back to zero, not because it is killed, but because every condition that allows it to exist is undone. The world would return to its starting point, like a book burned down to a blank page. And in that moment, just when you think the world has reached its end, you see something deeper. Earth has stood in this place of despair before, and it rose again. It rebuilt its atmosphere, it cooled its oceans, it gathered dust and shattered stone to form new continents. It turned darkness into the beginning of life, and perhaps that is why today we are here at all, lying in the stillness of night, listening to this ancient tale as if hearing a whisper from the heart of the planet. The S2 impact was not just an explosion. It was the opening drumbeat of Earth's long symphony, the first step on the path of evolution, a moment of destruction that laid the foundation for life itself. And when we return to the present, looking at our still spinning blue world drifting gently in the dark of space, we understand that Earth's fragility is not a weakness, it is its greatest beauty. For if a world once torn apart can rise again to become the home of millions of species, then every moment we are alive, breathing, listening to this story, is a miracle the universe wrote billions of years ago. And the quiet that follows S2 becomes a doorway to the final reflection, where we look at our planet through softer, more grateful, more awakened eyes. Now let us sit together in the stillness of the night, softly, slowly, just as Earth once healed itself after countless awakenings from the sky. When you close your eyes, you might notice something. Every meteor we've just journeyed through, from the tiny Behringer to the colossal S2, has been a knock on the door of the universe. Sometimes as gentle as rain tapping on a roof, sometimes as powerful as the drums of heaven. But each knock reminds us how fragile this planet has been, and how miraculous it is that it still exists today. If only one or two stones fell, humanity might struggle but still rise, still continue writing its story. But when giants knock together, as in the imagined journey we just traveled, Earth will bow its head. Not because it is weak, but because even the strongest worlds have limits, hidden cracks we have never seen. And yet, the beautiful truth is, we do not tell this story to sow fear, we tell it to understand. To understand that every day we live on this planet is a gift, to understand that a peaceful sky is never guaranteed, to understand that life has been erased many times, and yet it has always returned, stronger, more complex, more extraordinary. When we look at these ancient catastrophes, we don't find threats. We find gratitude. Gratitude that Earth stood up again and again to become the home we know. And then, in a long, gentle breath, we realize one last thing. The thing this planet has always whispered to those willing to listen. It is fragility that makes Earth precious. Oceans may vanish, forests may burn, the sky may darken beneath ashes, yet right now, you are still able to take a full breath, to feel the warmth of life around you, to watch sunlight slip through your window each morning. None of this is guaranteed. They are tiny miracles, sustained through billions of years of chaos. So as we close this journey, take a moment to see Earth differently, softer, more tender, more grateful, as if you're looking at an old friend who has endured too much pain, yet still opens its arms to shelter and nourish you. And if tonight you fall asleep with the image of meteors crossing the sky, let them not be signs of fear, but reminders that you are living in a rare moment of peace, a gift the universe has lent to us for just a little while. With one deep, steady breath, everything becomes gentle again. The universe is still vast, the asteroids still wander, but you, here, right now, are safe in the arms of this fragile, resilient, blue world. And like all stories from Sleepy Tales by John, we close softly. Good night.